Okay. I just want to make quick for you to talk about Doctor Who for a sec. Well, I know it'd be quick. I don't know how quick it would be. But I just want to think about this. It's kind of like a shot. Okay, there are so many questions we still don't know about Doctor Who. Like, a new Doctor Who opened up a lot of questions in her seasons. Like, how was the Master alive? We saw, if you haven't seen Doctor Who, sorry, this is going to be followed a lot of spoilers. So you probably should click off. I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Brilliant. But no, we see Missy die at the end of season 10. And then suddenly the Master's back in season 12. I guess maybe like most people think it's a different version of Master, like a Master from like a past generation that we never got to see. But I think it is the same Master, but it's just weird and it doesn't make much sense. But then there is the other question. I'm trying to remember what it was at the time. I thought about it, but I don't remember what it was anymore. Oh yeah, the Timeless Child. It seemed to how the Doctor's the Timeless Child. How many generations has the Doctor had? How many faces has the Doctor had? Who's the Doctor's parents? So many questions, but there's one shower thought that came to me. What is the Doctor's name? Now I know you're thinking, how is that a shower thought? That's just a question that's been asked ever since Doctor Who released. And all we got some hints. We got it written down in some weird version in the comics, like I don't know. I call it Gallifreyan language, but I don't think it's Gallifreyan language. Like it uses English letters and numbers, so it makes me think: is it like some kind of code to decipher his name? But I don't know what the code means from the comics. And yeah, there's no way to translate it so far, so that's sad. And then the Doctor. And then apparently Claw knew it at one point, but she doesn't remember it anymore. Maybe. And then River knows his name, but when did he ever tell River that what his name was? I know there's a lot of adventures they had that we never get to see, shown by the minisodes, but come on. What's his name? How do River know? But the one question that just kept on bothering me today is what if the Doctor doesn't even know his name? Like another hint, going back to hints, another hint that we got is that he said, right before Peter Capaldi regenerated, he said, people can hear it. Kids can hear it if they listen. And if their hearts are in the right place. And the stars are too. Children can hear your name. To mean that children can hear the Doctor's name if their heart is in the right place. And the stars are too, I guess. But I mean that his name is something that does apparently come to children. At one point I thought Jesus, but I thought they wouldn't do that because that would be getting a lot of questions off the show. Yeah, like me. But so I don't think that's his name. But so I'm just thinking, what could his name be? But what if he doesn't even know his own name? That's the shadow thought right there. What if he doesn't know his name? You're saying, but he's gotta know it. Else how do you tell ever? What if the name that everyone's asking for, everyone thinks is the name that opens his tomb, the name that he told River, what if that's just the name that he was given by his fake parents? Just hear me out. Fake parents. Thinking, what do you mean fake parents? Well, obviously, he had parents before we found out he was a Timeless Child. Because the Doctor, I think, remembers having parents. I always theorized that the woman that you see in the final episode of David Tennant is the Doctor's mother. I've always theorized that. I definitely could figure out. I don't think we ever figured out who the Doctor's dad is. I don't know. Maybe it's just in the comics. I have no idea. But that's who we thought. That's who I thought was the Doctor's mother. and in season 10, the episode where the wooden lady finds out that she's actually the mother of the main villain and not the daughter. If you remember the episode where the house is alive, he says, if you could save the person that brought you in this world, wouldn't you? And then he stays silent, and the bad guy says, "But that your silence is a confirmation," meaning that the doctor does remember parents. But we know, since he's a talentless child, that those parents must not be his real parents, and he must be adopted or something. Because he's a talentless child, he doesn't remember his past before those parents. So who are his real parents? That's crazy. But that also means, what is his real name? I still say he, even though it's a she right now. I still say he because I've been used to it. What is his real name? Like, what if the name that he says to open his tomb, the name he told River, the name that everybody thinks is his name, is not really his name? What if that's the name that his fake parents gave him, and his real name is still unknown, even from him, and no one knows it? So, but then how did the tomb open? Well, what if the tomb is linked to his memory? So if you say the doctor's name, as far as he knows, it will open. But now, here's the big question you may be wondering. The big, big, big question. Well, wouldn't the parents just name the doctor after the name that they heard? Like, wouldn't the doctor, as a kid, tell his fake parents his real name, and that's what would be given to him? Basically saying that when the parents adopt the child, they already know his or her name, and that's the name they just use because the doctor knows the name. But here's the problem. There's a big problem with that. How would they know his name? Like you're saying, but the doctor could probably talk. But he probably told her. But it also means that the doctor, it's not as always we think. We always thought that he was somewhere over 1,000. Because that's what the doctor says. But his age always changes. Like in one season, he says he's this age. But then in the season after that, he says he's younger. Or way older than he should be. It doesn't make sense, really. Even the doctor says that he doesn't remember his own age. He loses track. He's so old at this point. But he wouldn't even know his own age because he doesn't know how many lives he's lived. How many years were in each of those lives. He wouldn't know. He wouldn't. Unless he got all his memories back. Which he didn't. That's the thing. I thought that she did when she got in that vortex and the master was showing her everything. But the database was blank. She didn't get all memories back. So it's unknown how many lives she had, how old she is. But the question that just keeps on bothering me is, what if her name that she or he thought was his name the whole time throughout the whole franchise, all 38 seasons, is not his or her real name? What if the doctor, as a kid, never told his name to anyone? What if the doctor even forgot, seeing how he was a child, and at the time he was a little girl? What if the doctor forgot his real name because it's a child, or just didn't know? I'm sure she knew at one point, but she forgot because she's a child. She forgets things. What if she forgot her own name, or just never decided to tell anyone? And then when her memory of her life before the first face that we see, Doctor Who, got erased, she wouldn't even remember her own name anymore. And see how they got to make up a life for her now. They give her a fake name known as whatever the name of the doctor is. Meaning that the name that open the tomb, the name that River knows, the name that Claw knew at one point, the name that the Doctor knows could possibly be not his real name, and it's all a lie. That's the shower thought right there. It's also a theory, but theories can be shower thoughts. Because you just gotta think about that. What if? It makes you start thinking. It starts rubbing your brain. Sometimes makes you think, what? It's crazy to think about that, though. Whoa. I'm okay. I almost fell. It's crazy to think about. What is the Doctor's real name? It stumps me to think about that. That he could have a name that even he doesn't know. It's crazy to think about. Like, what could his name literally be? We get hints, but the hints don't tell us what the name could be. And we may never find out because he may not even know his own name. I always realize that maybe at the end of like, my brother always says he would never reveal his name because of the fact that it would probably ruin the idea of the show. Like, when people say Doctor Who, you can easily just say, oh, this is his name. And there would be no point to say his name because that would just ruin the show, he said. I don't think so. I think if you ended the show without ever revealing his name, it would then be ruined. Because the story would be incomplete. I always realized that the show will end with the Doctor dying once and for all, like we thought Matt Smith was going to do. But no, he came back with Peter Capaldi's face. So I think the Doctor's going to die at the end of the show. But I feel like we're going to find out the Doctor's name. Maybe it written in a book, and we don't know how to pronounce it. Like, it's in English letters, but we don't know how to pronounce the name. That's what I thought about. What if they do give us the name, but at the same time they don't? Like how Clara in Britain is pronounced Clara, but in America it's pronounced Clara. So see, like, or how laboratory in America is laboratory, or in Britain it's laboratory. Even other languages, everything has a different way to say it. What if the Doctor's name was written out in English letters, but was never said? Just written out in English letters. We saw it, like, after the Doctor died. It was in some book or something, and we just like, that's the Doctor's name. But we don't know how to pronounce it. We just see the letters, but we don't know how it's pronounced. How would they pronounce it back in the Doctor's language? How would they pronounce it in English? We wouldn't know how to pronounce it, maybe. Like, if a guy who doesn't know Spanish at all, or Mexican, or... I hate to say this, but I actually don't know what language this is from, because I don't know any languages, but... couple of Spanish and some Japanese, and I know like one word in Korean. But apart from that, I want to say Spanish, but this could be. Wait, Mexicans speak Spanish. I actually used to think that there was a language called Mexican. Don't hate me for that. But okay, Juan, that name. To a normal American person to an American person that's never heard that name, probably never seen it, doesn't even know any Spanish, probably read that as Joanne. But, yeah, that's how probably he or she would read it. But it's actually pronounced Juan, which in English letters, I have no idea how that would be spelled. But... I don't know, maybe W-A-U-N. But I feel like there'd be H somewhere in there. I don't know. But that's besides the point. See, that name is Juan, but it's not pronounced how it looks. it looks like Joanne or something like that, but it's pronounced Juan. So that doesn't work. Or like Ahoba. In Pink Panther, it's spelled Jojoba, but it's pronounced Jojoba.
It's pronounced jojoba. It's spelled jojoba, but it's pronounced jojoba. Jojoba. Why would I do something like that? Jojoba.
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 Seeing how that's the case, just because something is spelled some way doesn't mean it's pronounced that way. So the question is, what if the doctor's name is written out in English letters, and we see it, and we think we know how to pronounce it, but what if they say, oh, that's not how you pronounce his name? And we're just like, we know we have the doctor's name written in English right here, and we don't even know how to pronounce it? I feel like they would pull something like that. But I'm hoping that at the end of the show, most likely they'll pull something like I just said, but I'm hoping at the end of the show, they will reveal what the doctor's name, and it'll probably be something stupid like John. Like how the whole time the doctor's going by the name John Smith. And they just say, oh, yeah, this is his name. This is John Smith. And they're like, the whole time, the name he was going by is his real name. You gotta be me. But, I don't know. That really got me. I also had another shower thought related to Doctor Who, but I don't remember what it was now. But, yeah, that just stumps me. Is the doctor's name what he thinks it is? When we are at the end of the show, will we get his real name or the name that he thought it was? I don't know, that's just something to think about. Because that is a very good question that I'm sure no one has talked about. Or even thought about. The fact that the doctor's name could not be his real name.